world. So help us welcome back Jen Grant.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so delighted to be with you today. I love that Jay used the word frequency so many times in what he was just sharing, how this is all about moving frequency. And there are so many tools that we have that we can move that frequency, which feels like it's perfect for our theme of living in the digital age. Maybe a different frequency, but frequency nonetheless, which I think is beautiful tie-in because we have choices all the time in what way we choose our frequency and what type of frequency we choose to use. So a quick show of hands, how many of you have celebrated at one point or another, maybe a current relationship or past, doesn't matter, just curious, a relationship or an anniversary, let's go anniversary that is double digits. You've celebrated a double-digit anniversary, something over 10 years. Wonderful. Oh, just did yesterday. I heard the whisper. Who said that? Who just celebrated yesterday? Someone. Nice. Congratulations. So we said over 10. Anyone over 15? Wonderful. Over 20? Over 20. How many? How many for you right here? 20. Oh, she's using like fingers and toes. 22? Nice, congratulations. And you had your hand too, over 20? 34, congratulations. So I celebrated my very first, well, it's 2 times I've celebrated it now. My first relationship of double digits anniversary happened last week. I celebrated my 12-year face-iversary. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? So Facebook will let you know when you have a face-iversary. So I celebrated a very special anniversary last week. It's my very own Facebook anniversary. 12 years ago, last week, I joined Facebook. And how perfect for our theme this month that I get to share that special anniversary with all of you today. So that was funny that came up, and it made me start really looking at what Facebook has been, what that's done for me, what that does for so many of us, and how that has changed for me over the last 12 years, especially as we tie into the conversation today. So digital age is a big one. It's a big topic. It's a big idea. And we could go around the room here and have conversation with each of you, and we'd probably have 30 or 40 different ideas around the digital age and what it means to us and how we use it and what that looks like. Is there anyone in the room that doesn't use the internet? Or do we all use it in some fashion? We all use it in some fashion. Perfect. So I'm going to share with you a couple stats because it feels like numbers, 90% of data on the internet has been created since 2016. That was kind of a mind-blowing, right? It was kind of mind-blowing to me as well. 90% that's currently on the internet has been created in the last 3 years. 90%. In 2014, there were 2.4 billion internet users. Just, 5 years later, June of 2019, they counted 4.4 billion internet users. So we've doubled billions in the last 5 years, which is incredible to me. Google, anyone use Google? We've all used Google, I'm sure. Google has 3.5 billion searches every minute. 3.5 billion every minute. 3.5 billion searches every minute. And I don't know if you've heard of Ecosia, E-C-O-S-I-A. They are also a search engine, and when you use Ecosia, a tree gets planted. So check them out. Google, we love you. Clearly, people are loving on Google, but if you're curious, Ecosia is a great option as well. Pardon? How do I spell it? Ecosia, E-C-O, so Eco, S-I-A. Ecosia, yep. Amazon, this one, this was stunning to me. So we know that Amazon has changed over the last number of years. This isn't even an old number, so normally I wouldn't say that 2 years ago is an old number, but as we're looking digitally and in the digital age, 2 years ago is ancient. It's a dinosaur if it's 2 years old. A number from 2017 for Amazon, $373 million in sales every day. Every day, $373 million in sales every day. So texting, anyone text? We have phones, we text, we stay connected with people. Texting has become so big. I was talking to Gary this morning. I have a 22-year-old, and we no longer text, because I don't know, is that too much to do now if you're 20? I don't understand. We use Facebook Messenger, but I still text other people. My dad is a great texter, bless his heart. We don't talk on the phone often, but I can get him to text. My father-in-law, who's in his early 70s, that's the way we communicate all the time. He will send me a random sweet text. It's incredible. So texting is a big one. Daily, 26 billion texts by 27 million people. This is in the US alone, which equals about 94 texts per day per person. 94 per day per person on average. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not sending 94 texts every day. And the people that I've talked to aren't sending 94 texts. And if that's an average, that means there are people out there sending 200, 300, 400 texts every single day. It's mind-blowing to me. Two more for you. YouTube. We can't forget YouTube, right? YouTube, every single day, 4 million hours of content are uploaded. 4 million hours of content are uploaded every day on YouTube. But get this, we think 4 million is a lot that's uploaded. 5.97 billion hours are watched every day. Mouth open, right? I know, same. As I was reading these, I couldn't believe it. Okay, the last one, Facebook, right? Our beloved Facebook. It's this thing that's kept us connected. We get to see people we haven't seen for years. For me, when I joined Facebook, my dear friend, so I had been volunteering for a young women's organization for a number of years, and I loved them so much. I love supporting young women so they know they're enough, you know? Imagine supporting 17, 18, 19-year-old young women, and if they can grasp that at that age and then take that with them as they go forward. You know, the Dalai Lama says, the world will be saved by the Western woman. And I would add to that, the world will be saved by the awakened Western woman. So I love supporting these young women and letting them take that forward so they can then, you know, help save the world. So I'd been supporting this group for a long time in person, going to events, sharing with them, leading workshops, and I found myself having to move away. And now, we don't talk about this very often, but I moved to Iowa. I came back. So I'm happy to be back here. If you're from Iowa, bless you. I'm happy to be back in my home state. But when I moved away, I was talking to my co-coordinator in the program, and she's like, Jen, just join Facebook. I post all the photos. You can stay connected with the young women. And for a long time, I had pushed against it. I don't want to be a part of that. Like, who's a part of Facebook? I don't want to be a part of that. I'm not interested in that. And Lori, my dear friend, she'd been involved in it for 2 years since it started. Facebook started in 2005, I think, is what I heard. So she had started it, was trying to convince me for a long time. And how she got me to join Facebook finally, and maybe this is why you joined, photos. Photos. I wanted to see photos. I wanted to stay connected to these people. So I decided to join Facebook September of 2007, 12 years ago last week. And she was right. For the first, 6 months, my status, maybe your status, you might remember a status like this. You know how Facebook has your name, and then you can write in your post, right? You write in the post. My post for the first year and a half, I didn't even start with a capital letter. It was like, Jennifer Grant is eating a sandwich. Really? Like, that's the post that I look back now? Like, that's the memory I get to look back on? Yesterday's memory, like, who doesn't love their memories, though? I love the memories. It lets me watch how I've learned and grown and changed. What a blessing. Thank goodness. Yesterday's was something along the lines of, I'm frustrated, or no, not even I'm frustrated. Jennifer Grant, ... is frustrated trying to figure out how to learn Facebook. All right. Thankfully, we've evolved. I've evolved in the last 12 years in how I use that. But it's true how it's an opportunity for us to stay connected. So Facebook, over 2 billion active users every single day, over 2 billion active users every day, 5.7 billion likes. So we're clicking like 5.7 billion likes every single day, 4 million like clicks per minute. Now, let's break that down and count the love heart. I'm probably doing the love heart 500 times a day because I choose the love heart instead of the like. Why not love it if I can like it? So 4 million like clicks every single minute, and status updates, so where you can tell everybody what you're doing, 293,000 are done every single minute on Facebook. So if we think the digital age isn't relevant, you're probably in the wrong space, because it's very relevant. The digital age is extremely relevant, and we can either push against it and be really frustrated, and I know people that do that, you probably know people that do that, or we can choose to embrace it, choose to take it with us, choose to use it in a way that uplifts and enlightens and supports. So one person that comes to mind, and I love that, Gary and I chatted this morning, and Gary brought her up as well. You've heard of Greta. Show of hands, how many of you are familiar? If I use the name Greta, like Cher or Oprah or Madonna, like one name is all they need, Greta. You've heard of Greta, right? Greta Thunberg. So Greta is the now 16-year-old Swedish activist. She is an environmental activist that has traveled all over. She recently landed here in the United States for the UN summit. Bless her heart for showing up. So last August of 2018 is when it started for Greta. She started the climate strike, the youth strike, Fridays for Future. And she sat outside her parliament alone for many weeks in a row. And every now and then, sporadically, she'd have a couple friends show up to strike with her. Last Friday, and the Friday before, Friday the 20th and Friday the 27th. I don't know if you've seen the news or you watched, maybe you participated. That one person from 13 months ago has now transferred into 4 million people around the world showing up for Friday climate strikes, youth climate strikes. One person, 13 months, 4 million people. And the only reason that happened, the digital age. It's social media. That's the only reason we went from 1 to 4 million. And there are some people that push back against that, which don't ask me to have a conversation about that because I can't fathom that. I don't understand that. But it speaks to the power of how we can get a movement going and how social media and the digital age can really support that. Now, on the flip side, I didn't bring an example, and I won't bring an example of ways that social media hurts us, ways that we've seen maybe the same momentum built, but for something that isn't full of light and love and compassion, and I truly believe that this is not the space to have those conversations. So we're going to keep those out. I know you've witnessed those. I rather choose that what we seek is also seeking us, and if we're looking for the good, we're going to find the good. If we're looking for the people in the world that are uplifting, inspiring, enlightening, supporting, kind, compassionate, will we find them? If we're looking for them, yes, we're going to find them. On the flip side, if we're looking for the people that are harmful and hurtful and negative and unkind, we'll say, rude, maybe even mean, hurt, frustrated, angry, can we find them? Yeah, we can find them too. The question isn't more about whether they're out there or not. That's not the question we need to ask. The question we need to ask is, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be aligned with? What do you want to seek? What do you want to see in your life? Because how you play that will show up very differently. Mother Teresa used to say, and forgive me, I may not get it exactly right, but she used to say something along the lines of, please don't invite me to participate in your anti-war, but when you hold an anti-peace, I'll be there. So on the surface, we can argue that it's the same thing, right? Anti-war, well, doesn't that mean peace? Maybe. But if I'm focusing on pro-peace, sorry, not anti-peace, all of you are like, wait, anti-peace. I'm so glad I caught that, because I'd have 30 of you questioning me after. No, pro-peace, of course. Anti-war versus pro-peace, right? But it's a very different feeling. Let's go back to frequency. It's a very different frequency if we're saying anti-war versus pro-peace. How we show up in that space is very different. If I show up in something that's anti-war, I'm probably going to be angry with my fists waving in the air. Versus if I show up to a pro-peace rally, I'm going to be there with open arms, ready for hugs and kindness and compassion. And do we need both? Maybe. Because there are people that probably need to show up in this space and in this way. And there are people, myself included, that would much prefer to show up in this space, to show up for what we actually want. So the digital age, I don't believe the digital age is doing anything bad or good. I think it's just like our minds. Our mind is like a farmer's field. Our mind doesn't care what we plant. It will grow it, just like the farmer's field. If you wanted, it sounds ridiculous, the farmer could plant weeds. Will that ground grow weeds? Mine does. I know that for sure. That farmer could also choose to grow corn or soybean or delicious organic vegetables, anything, it doesn't matter. The ground isn't going to stop him and say, oh no, wait. Right? The ground doesn't care. It's not up to the ground. Same with our minds. Our minds don't care. We get to choose what we plant. We get to choose what we plant in every single moment. And it's no different with the digital age. It's no different with social media. We get to decide. We get to decide. So my question for you is, what are you deciding? Are you deciding anti-war or are you deciding pro-peace? Are you pushing against something or are you pushing for something? It's a different feeling. And there are a lot of people, we need a lot of people pushing against something, but we also need people pushing for. We need the healers. We need the activists. We need the healers. And I think right now we need healers, more kindness, more compassion, more love. And we bring that forward. I love all the work that Greta is doing. Oh my gosh, hear me when I say that. Don't get me wrong. She has made so many people wake up. And so many young ones get up to use their voice. How beautiful to witness that. And I also think we need people stepping up with kindness, with compassion, with this fervent beat in our hearts, ready to take that action. And we can use that and bring that forward through the channels of social media. So funny story for you, the digital age isn't just social media. I tend to think of it as social media primarily, since that feels like something that combines and connects all of us. But it's also around technology within our homes and within our cars. So last week, a week and a half ago, our car, bless its heart, it's smarter than I am. Thank you, car. My uncle, when I was young, bless his heart, he's since passed away, he taught me, he thought it would be very prudent to teach his young niece, as she's starting to drive, how to change the oil in her car. Very prudent. At the time, I had a 1976 Chevy Nova that I had bought from an older couple, so it only had 2,000 miles on it. They only drove it to church and back. So it was in brand new condition. I got my little Chevy Nova painted, looked pretty cool. They even had seat covers on the seats, so the seats were brand new. I took the covers off, brand new seats. Lovely. So my uncle, bless his heart, says, we're going to teach my dear niece how to change her oil. We're going to teach her how to change the tires, because he wanted me to be, self-sufficient. Good for him. So I learned all of that. I learned how to change the oil. Well, now fast forward a number of years, 28, give or take years, 26. I just made myself older than I am, 26 years. And now I have a car that tells me when it's low, and I'm driving a couple weeks ago and the ding comes on and it says minimum oil. Like, okay, I thought my oil people take care of that now, because if you open the hood of this car, I don't know where anything is on my car that I have out here. So it says minimum oil, and what do? You know, in my Chevy Nova, if it says minimum oil, I open the hood, pop the hood, and I pull the what? The dipstick. Yeah, you pull the dipstick, you wipe the rag, you dump it again, you bring it back up, you look in a light, you find out exactly where you're at, right? This car, I decide I know how to check that. I can check the oil, we'll figure it out. I'm a big girl, I know how to add oil, so I'm standing in the parking lot. I open the hood of my car. Not a new car, but it's a 2010 Audi, so it's much newer than a 1976. So I open the hood of the car and I'm looking and looking and looking. And I'm dressed not in grungy clothes, but not super nice, like maybe something like this. And I'm looking in this parking lot. Now, bless you fellas that want to support us women that don't have a clue what we're doing. But I did know what I was doing, but I still had this, gentleman come over and he's like, "Ma'am, can I help you?" I'm like, "No, actually I got it. I'm just going to check my oil," and I'm looking, and he's like, "Well, let me help you. I'll come over. You don't need to get dirty. I have a rag here." He had a rag in his pocket. He did. He pulls out the rag, has a rag in his pocket. He comes over, and we're looking. And we're looking. And he's like, does this to me. So he kind of pushes me out of the way. I'm like, I didn't say anything because I know his heart is in the right spot, right? So he's looking, we're looking, there's no dipstick. There's no dipstick. I don't know if you know this about that car, but there's no dipstick. Where did the dipsticks go? I haven't had to check oil in a long time. Clearly, I've never had to check it in this car. There's no dipstick. I think this poor gentleman, he wanted to be such a hero, and I ruined his day. Not a hero that day. We both walked away a little exasperated, and I get in the car and I pull out the manual, right? That's what we're supposed to do. You pull out the manual. So I check the manual, and the car says, you need to do this and turn it off and then push this button, and then this light will come on and it will tell you exactly what it's supposed to do. It will show you where it's at. So I did all the things, and it didn't work. And I did all the things again and made sure I grabbed my glasses, make sure I'm looking correctly. It still didn't work. Then I start to drive, and I do it while I'm driving, don't tell. And it worked. So it worked while I was driving, and it showed me, sure enough, your oil level is down here. You need to add a quart of oil. Perfect. We're living in the digital age, right? My car tells me exactly what I need to do. But my brain was so stuck on, I know how to use the dipstick. My car doesn't have a dipstick. I have to know how to use that. And what I realized very quickly is adding the oil, easy. I can do that. Did that. Got it done. We're good to go. And it was happy again. The light went right off. But as I was under there looking, it had me thinking, what else do I not have access to anymore with my car just because of the way cars have changed? What else do we not have access to anymore because of how the digital age has come forward for us in our lives? Things that we've done for so many years, things that have become second nature to us that now we don't do anymore. It's fascinating as we step back, and we can either rub against that and be angry. I could stand in front of that car and yell at it, but I'm sure that's not going to do any good. Or I can just, adapt and be grateful and say, thank you, car, for knowing. And I'm going to focus on something that does matter. So we joke and we laugh and we share these ridiculous stories. But I really want you to take a minute and think. How are you using it? When you think about the word living in the digital age, do you automatically feel this this heaviness? Or do you automatically yeah, I enjoy it, I embrace it, because I know how I want to show up, I know how I want to be received, I know the messages that I want to share. Those first 2 years of my Facebook journey are nothing worth talking about. They're not really worth talking about. But then 2 years in, about 10 years ago, I had a big life-changing moment. And I went from someone believing I'm not good enough, people don't like me, so why even bother, to then transitioning into this space of, you know what, I'm worthy, and so are you, and so are you, and so are you. So are every one of you worthy of kindness and compassion and love and self-love and living from a place of light and alignment. So over the next 10 years, the past 10 years, I could see that start changing in my Facebook page. And I can see the relationships change in my page. I can see the people show up in my life that have completely changed. And what's so fascinating is that as I've become more intentional and more aligned with this divine truth that we all have within us, in Kundalini Yoga we call it Sat Nam. Sat Nam means my name is truth. Truth is my name. And it's not like, oh, the truth of who you are is love. You are love and light. We've heard that, right? You've heard that. But this is like really embracing the essence. If we peel back all the layers, the essence of who you are is love. You are love. You are divine. You are Sat Nam. The truth of who you are is love. It's so much bigger than we often feel like it is. And yet we say it and we brush by it. But are you living that? Are you bringing that forward? My husband and I will celebrate our 2-year anniversary in 3 weeks, which is really exciting. I can't wait to get to 22 or 34. I can't wait to celebrate some of those big numbers. I don't know that my marriage to my husband will ever have a higher number than my Facebook anniversary, my face-versary. But hopefully that would mean Facebook goes away, and I don't know that I want that. I enjoy those connections. So we got married almost 2 years ago. And the man that married us was a dear friend of mine, such a beautiful soul. He's the type of person that, gosh, when he walks into the room, you know he's there. And not because he said anything, but because his presence and his essence. And do you know people like this? Like when they walk in the room, it just uplifts because they're there. That was Tom. And Tom, so we got married October 20th, and just 2 short months later, Tom passed away. Suddenly, sadly, and it was hard. It was deep, and it cut me wide open. And it was the first time that someone, Tom wasn't just our wedding officiant, he was a dear friend, he was part of my mastermind group. And when Tom passed away, it cut me open in a way that didn't make sense to me. It hurt so hard, it hurt so big, and I didn't understand because it wasn't like he was a father or a brother or an uncle or a grandpa. He was a friend. And then I realized the reason, and the reason is because I'd had that moment at the time 8 years ago where I finally started realizing this truth about all of us, which is light and love. And as we start to realize that and bring that compassion and kindness in for ourselves, we start seeing that so much deeper in other people, and I had seen that in Tom. And so Tom passed away, and it cut me wide open, and what I knew for sure about Tom is that Tom had legacy. Tom was leaving a legacy, and I'm not talking about the kind of legacy that people that are famous leave, or people that are philanthropists leave. I'm talking about the kind of legacy that every day you and me, we will leave a lasting impression. We all have a legacy. And we can choose to step into that, or we can choose to, just ignore it. And I don't know that Tom ever said, I'm going to raise my hand and choose my legacy. I don't think it's like that, but Tom was intentional about how he lived. The church was filled to the brim at Tom's celebration service. And not, again, because he did anything monumental that the world would recognize, but he did a lot of small monumental things for a lot of individuals. It was the way he showed up. It was his presence. So the digital age, social media, can amplify us. Just like when we make more money, people always think more money is going to change you. It's going to make your situation better. It's going to make your situation worse. It's going to change you. It's going to amplify whatever the situation is. And that's what we can use social media, the digital age, for. It's going to amplify who you are and how you want to choose that and how you want to show up. Last year, so my husband and I got married almost 2 years ago, a week before we got married, which was October 13th. He reconnected because of Facebook with a dear friend of his that he hadn't talked to. They were best friends growing up. And then life gets in the way, they move away, you part ways, you don't see each other, and then they were able to reconnect via Facebook. They connected on Facebook, and then they quickly exchanged numbers through Facebook Messenger, which is my lifesaver now. It keeps me so connected to my daughter. So they quickly exchanged numbers through Facebook Messenger and proceed to have a 4-hour conversation. And for my husband, we're on the phone maybe 10 minutes, and he's been itching to get off the phone for the last 9. So for him to have a nearly 4-hour conversation, I knew this was special to him. And it was because of this random, weird, digital age, Facebook, social media, that was able to bring those two together. So that was 2 years ago, a week before we got married. Jeremy couldn't come to the wedding. He'd already had plans, but we certainly invited him because it was so beautiful to see them reconnected. A year later, and he didn't even put the dates together until after. A year later, so last year, October 13th, a week before our first year anniversary, if you're following along here, it was a Friday, October 13th. And I was up north. I was at a women's yoga retreat. And whenever I'm gone for an evening like that, my husband is music. He loves all the music, and he loves exploring music. I can kind of do without it. So if I'm gone, it becomes like his music sanctuary, right? He'll sit at the computer, he turns on solitaire, and he just plays music. Just loves music. Another way the digital age has come forward is we have access to so many things. It used to be just the radio, and now we have so many ways to get things at our fingertips. So he's sitting there Friday, October 13th, it's in the evening, and a song comes on that he hasn't heard for years, and who does it remind him of? His dear friend Jeremy. It happened to be exactly a year later, and it's around 10:30 at night, and he messages Jeremy on Facebook and says something like, "This song came on, just thought I'd reach out and say hello." And you know how Facebook shows you if someone saw your message? So he saw that Jeremy saw his message, and moments later, Jeremy's typing back. He's like, perfect timing, I just got home from work. Let me change, I'll be right back, we can chat. So they start chatting on Facebook Messenger. They start chatting for almost an hour and a half. Chatting, remembering all the things, can't wait to connect. Jeremy has young kids, so getting together in person has been challenging, but can't wait. We're going to figure it out. We'll drive up there, keep the kids, we'll hang out with you. They're doing all of this chatting. And my husband sends one final message just before midnight. Something along the lines of, "Hey, buddy, it's so nice to know I have this in you, that we can just pick up right where we left off, and it feels like we've missed nothing. Thank you so much for your friendship." I was so proud of him to read that. Like, he poured his heart out. And the dot never changed. It never showed that Jeremy saw that message. But Lindsay had said it, went to bed feeling really, really good. That was Friday night. Saturday, didn't think about it, did things around the house. Sunday, I get home from the retreat. And as I get home, we're settling in, and he tells me about this conversation he'd had with Jeremy. And that afternoon, we got a phone call, Jeremy passed. And it's expected that Jeremy passed within moments of them talking. Jeremy left the computer. He had a brain aneurysm and went into the bathroom, and he died on the floor of the bathroom. His wife didn't find him until 3 to 4 hours later. The digital age, we can push against it, or we can embrace it. And when we choose to embrace it, be mindful how you're using it, yes. Step away from it when you need to, absolutely. But there are ways and stories. If you had to guess, how happy and grateful do you think Lindsay is that they had that last conversation? It's something he talks about all the time. And we're coming up in 2 weeks here, will be the 1-year anniversary of that conversation and Jeremy's death. And it's, as a 43-year-old man, it quickly changed him. And it quickly reminded him how important it is, these connections that we have, that even though they're out in this social media, digital age world we sometimes take for granted, there are ones in there that are so meaningful and that they matter. And it's changed him. It's changed how he connects and reaches out to people. When he thinks about someone, he reaches them. He says hello. He says hi. And as they receive that message, it moves them too. So we always have a choice. We get to choose. And when we talk about legacy, we don't have to talk about it from the big philosophical or the big famous or philanthropist. How much money do you have that you're going to leave? Can your legacy be, I always reached out. I shared things that were kind. I know that when I walked into the room, I did my best to support people and show them love. Because if that's the legacy, that's one I want to leave. Marianne Williamson says, every life is a platform. Every life is a platform. And she said those words years ago. Every life is a platform. I don't know when she said them, but before the digital age became what it is. And I just want to encourage you today, if every life is a platform, that includes you. Your life is a platform. How are you showing up? What choices are you making? Are you living from a place that when you pass, your children can look at, your friends can look at? We're proud of what she's done. We're proud of who he was. I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to be in that space. Every life is a platform. We're going to move into a short meditation here. And I want to take you through this in a way that, so normally in meditation we say, clear your thoughts, empty your mind, right? And most of us, if you're like me, you're like, oh, but then that's when they rush in, right? So this time, instead of clearing the thoughts and entering and emptying the mind, I want you to bring those thoughts in. But I want you to be mindful. I want you to give some consideration. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? The digital age is here whether we like it or not. I want you to get connected with the feeling that you want to envelop not only for yourself, but for those around you. So if you want to take a nice deep inhale with me and a full exhale, we'll do that one more time. A nice deep inhale and a full exhale. And gently close your eyes. You can bring your hands to your lap. If it feels better to you, you can bring your hands over your heart. And take a moment to notice a bright, beautiful white light. It's out in front of you. You can see it. Vibrant and sparkly and gorgeous. And then bring that bright, beautiful white light closer, closer, closer until it feels like you've merged with that bright, beautiful white light. Let that bright, beautiful white light wash over you. Let it fill you in your head. Feel it in your face. Feel it in your cheeks, your eyes, your mouth as you put a gentle smile on your face. Feel that bright light as it moves down into your throat, over your shoulders, moving down into your chest and your back, moving into the heart. That bright, beautiful, white, sparkly, divine light moving down further, deeper into your body, enveloping your waist, your hips, and feel it now moving down your legs, over your knees, down your shins and your calves, into the ankles, into the feet. That bright, beautiful white light is consuming your entire body, tips of your fingers, and feel now that white light is love, it's compassion, it's kindness, and feel yourself fully in that space. Get connected to that feeling. Breathe into the essence of that divine love, that Sat Nam, the truth of who you are. Take a nice deep inhale as you breathe into it one more time. And a full exhale. Take a moment to feel that white light within you, pulsing, giving life, connecting you to love, spirit, divine, God, universe. May you always remember this is your truth. May you always know that you can show up from this space. Take a nice deep inhale and a full exhale as you gently open your eyes. Take a moment to capture that, really feel that. The truth of who you are is love. The truth of who you are is light. You might not have millions to leave your kids. You might not be famous. You might not change the world. But to one person, you are their world. Maybe to many people, you're their world. And how you choose to show up matters. I pray that you will choose to show up in light, in love, in compassion, and kindness. And let the digital age amplify the beauty that is our humanity. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, you beautiful people. The light in me honors and sees and respects and loves the light in each and every one of you. Sat Nam.
Thank you, Jen Grant.
Take a moment as we're all standing here and look around our not quite a circle, and just notice people. And as you lock eyes with someone, grab their attention, smile at them. One of the biggest, easiest gifts that we have is our smile. It's our eyes. It's making eye contact with strangers and letting them know, I see you. You matter to me, even though I don't know your story. I don't know what you're going through right now. I see you, and you matter to me. I'm going to share with you the words that we close in Kundalini Yoga. It's a prayer of sorts, so if you want to close your eyes for a moment. May the longtime sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within guide your way on. May the longtime sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within guide your way on. If you'll join me now for a long sat and a short nam, honoring truth, honoring light, honoring love that is within each and every one of us. Take a nice deep breath. Sat Nam. Thank you so much for joining me this day. May you always feel blessed. May you always feel love. May you always feel light. Sat Nam.